Alright, we're live.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do some, elaborate intro because we're just on my personal channel, or at least we should be.
Right.
If it worked correctly.
I'm trying to pull it up to see.
I don't know. Check my phone too to see if it's working. I hope it is.
Hey, yeah. Holy crap.
Show
Yep,
Court
it's
show
working.
show Courtney.
Hey, Courtney. He's got us on an old TV.
We had that TV.
So did my
No,
grand.
seriously, the little panel. You push on one side of the little panel and the door flips open.
Yeah, my grandmother had the same TV.
We old and broke as hell. We had that TV. Child. 89-year-old Arnold.
She don't even know what they're saying.
I don't either, but I enjoy it.
Oh, crap. I started hearing, like, us talking again. I
Yeah.
need to turn my volume down on the phone.
Yeah.
There were-
Alright. So main reason I wanted to do this just is kind of fun, just partially, boredom. But something that's kind of right up your alley with the whole, wrestling, you know, area of things.
yeah.
Um, you and I have been talking the last couple days because I've been watching the uh, most want or the
Lord
WWE's
have
Most
mercy. I
Wanted,
caught that living
where
on the
they're
cart. Okay.
uh, looking for memorabilia and
Wait, what? Watch it.
what? See, this is why we did it on my personal channel. um, but I've been watching the clips from the A&E show WWE's Most Wanted, where they're looking for all of the old memorabilia and shit. And like I told you, it's pissing me the fuck off the way these collector fans are acting, for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm kind of interested from your perspective because I know that there are certain things that we have different opinions on, or at least different perspectives.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm curious what you think as far as collectors and collecting memorabilia, because I don't know when WWE decided to start the archive. I guess
Yeah.
it was the show seems like it was from 2014.
Oh, wow. I
Um,
didn't know it was that long ago.
that's what it seems like. Um, they're just uploading segments from it from when it first started. But one of the episodes seemed to indicate that they were doing or that they were in the year 2014, because they were talking about 2014 versus something in the past, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't even know if it's still on uh, the A&E network. It might have been
That's
just something short lived. Uh,
that's weird because, like, I didn't even hear about the show until earlier this year.
so it either might be in reruns, or they might actually have new episodes. I don't know. But
I have no idea.
from your perspective, because I know that you live, eat, and breathe wrestling, and you probably know more about it than most people I'm affiliated with. But the thing that's pissing me off is the fact that in my mind, especially with the wrestlers, WWE should have ownership of all of the memorabilia from different eras of the company, like the different decades that they've been in existence. Um, I don't understand how some of these pieces got into private collectors' hands when they should have been in the possession of WWE the entire time. And now you've got super fans who have these multi-million dollar pieces that you can't replicate, and they're trying to basically bribe this person from the archive who's trying to collect all these items. They're trying to bribe him to give them money for something that they really shouldn't even have possession of.
Right.
And it's almost like some of these fans feel like they own part of the person by owning this. And it's like we stopped owning people what, four 200 300 years ago.
Yeah. No. I wish I knew how they got a hold of this stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe former wrestlers down on his luck, so he puts his stuff up on auction or something.
Hmm.
Um, I don't understand how they get a hold of it. Like anybody who knows anything about wrestling
Hmm.
knows what some of those props and stuff mean. Like for example, the Undertaker's urn.
Yeah.
You know, if I was a collector, that'd be like one of the first two pieces I'd try to go after.
Well, and that's the thing. WWE literally has every Undertaker coffin. Why the fuck don't they have everything else? Like, I understand some of the pieces Mark actually has.
Yeah,
Like, Mark Calloway, the Undertaker, actually has some of these pieces. I agree with that. That's fine.
yeah,
But why do these fucking greedy ass fans have all this stuff? Like, I'll admit there are some fans who have them beautifully displayed and taken care of. But why the fuck do you have them?
right. And see, it's I just I don't I don't know how they get them. Like if I had something like that, of course I'm different than most people. If I had something like that, like say if it was the urn,
Yeah.
it needs to be in like a WWE museum or something.
Hmm.
And so I would just try to donate it. There's some of these people are using it as like a get rich quick thing.
Yeah. And that's what I've always said about memorabilia is I will never own, like, I have Funko Pops, but you can buy those anywhere. It's not like it's something really of value until they stop making that particular piece maybe. But it's not something directly from a show or directly from an actor that should essentially belong to them,
Yeah,
because I don't, the way I see it, if you own something that is that valuable, it's a means to an end. Like you said, it's just a money grab. Because when you could say, oh, this means a lot to me. I'm gonna keep it. And it's like the first time you're in a rock between a rock and a hard place, or maybe between Dwayne Johnson and the Undertaker. I don't know. That's the wrestling version of a rock and a hard place.
yeah, that's
Um,
somewhere I don't want to be.
but if you're between a rock and a hard place and you're hard up for money, you're gonna sell that thing. And it's like, okay, what fucking meaning did it have to you, being that you just fucking sold it?
Right.
I don't understand that.
Hey, what's up, Patrick?
What's up, dude? Nice to see you in here. Thanks for stopping by. Um,
um, yeah, he's another one he's about as big of a wrestling fan as I am.
I'm glad he's in here then because he'll be
Yeah,
able to contribute. But it's like for me, especially when I started going to Comic Con, I swore that I would never get anything signed, and I would never get it, like an autograph, because for me, at least in my mind, that's exploiting the person that I want to meet. Because, like I said, the minute you're hard up for money, you're gonna sell that because it's gonna be worth money. Look at, I mean, I don't know what the value is now because I wouldn't even know how to look it up. But think about the value of a Stanley autograph before he died versus now.
Yeah.
That's what pisses me the fuck off. It's like you are inspired by somebody who created something that changed your life. You got an autograph from them, but the minute you're hard up for money, you're gonna fucking sell it.
And see, I've got a few autographs, but it's mostly um, country singers autographs.
Yeah.
Um, like, and they're all the CD, the cover of the CD, like the little booklet that comes in them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as much as I like, as big as I am on music,
Mm-hmm.
I'll never sell them because I don't want to get rid of the disc. I want to
But
keep the whole thing together.
you and I've also had the discussion that once you and Courtney pass away and it goes down to Adriana, she may not see the sentimental value in it, and
Yeah,
if she understands the monetary value in it, she may end up selling it. That's why it pisses me off. Nothing against Adriana. I'm not
yeah.
saying that. Please don't take it like that.
Oh,
But
no, no, no.
what
She
I'm saying is,
she
as
says,
it gets passed down through generations, it loses its sentimental value because
yeah,
they don't understand its origins, and they don't understand its emotional origins.
yeah. Well, Adriana says she's going to be a doctor who's also a singer, so she's going to be
Yeah,
set for the money
you
anyway.
told me about that.
We asked her, like, she always says she wanted to be a doctor, and then she's like, I want to be a singer. I'm like, well, I thought you want to be a doctor. I'm going to be a singing doctor.
Yeah, you and I had that discussion, and didn't I say that she'd be like the singing version of Patch Adams, Robin Williams'
I believe
character?
you did.
Yeah, because obviously Robin Williams' Patch Adams character was a comedian and a doctor, but she'd be the singing version of Patch Adams.
Yeah. But yeah, I've got, I know, let's see, I've got Kenny Chesney, Dirks Bentley. I guess they're the only two autographs I've got who are
Hmm.
still making music. The other ones only lasted a couple years in the industry, and then they fell out. So
Yeah,
like those autographs won't be worth anything anyway.
yeah. Um,
Um,
like the thing that irritates me is with the A&E show, and actually, like I told you earlier, I've been watching a couple of clips from Pawn Stars episodes where wrestling memorabilia has come up, and it's like if you're not going to preserve these in a way where they're not going to, get worn out just by aging, that because they bring them into the pawn shop if they don't get the price if they don't get the money they want for them. I My guess is they probably just have them packed away somewhere. Why are you going to have something like that packed away somewhere?
yeah. Well, what gets me about that is he'll be like, "I'll give you $12,500," and they're like, "Well, can you go to 15,000? If you go 12.5, you can go to 15." Come on, that's $12,000 you didn't have when you walked in the building. Just take the money.
Hmm. Um, it's like a girl that I was watching earlier, and nothing against her because she was actually very agreeable. She brought in something, and I forgot what it was. Um, she didn't even know. She flat out said to him, "I don't know how to negotiate, and I don't know what this is worth." Like she had something that was given to her, and she didn't know what it was worth. It didn't have necessarily any sentimental value to her.
Yeah.
So, that's why she wasn't, too broken up about, selling it. But she openly admitted, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
um, it's like, I don't know how I don't know how familiar. Can't talk, and I haven't even had alcohol tonight. Uh, are you into hockey at all?
I've watched hockey very, like I can count on one hand how many times I've watched it, but
Okay.
that's because I don't understand what's going on. Other than I know they're chasing a puck, they're trying to put it in the goal. But when they get called for icing and stuff, I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, just to put it into perspective, the town I grew up in was the town that the AHL team for the Detroit Red Wings. So like
Hmm.
just a step down from NHL. Um,
Yeah.
the AHL Red Wings version of the NHL Red Wings was in my hometown. Um, which oddly enough, I don't think I ever told you this. See, okay, so I always say I grew up in upstate New York. The town I grew up in was the hometown for the AHL Red Wings. They were called the Adirondack Red Wings. Um, when I moved down here to Virginia, I found out that the AHL team, the Red Wing for the Red Wings, actually started here in Virginia. So it's like,
Huh.
how did I come full circle doing that? Because I love hockey. Like
Yeah.
that was what you did on the weekends from October to April. You went to
Right.
fucking hockey games because that's where all the town was. Like you went there and just fucking had a blast. Um, I met so many different hockey players and became such close friends with so many of them. And it was just like I went there's I don't know if he's I don't think he's still in. I think he retired. There was a goalie named Kevin Hodson. He started out with the Adirondack Red Wings, went up to Detroit, and then got traded to a couple of different teams. And I think he retired when he was with I think the Colorado Avalanche. When I was in fifth grade, me and my then friend Brittany got to go out to the movies with Kevin and his fiance at the time.
Oh, nice.
Like that that's how hometown we were. Like the hockey players didn't see themselves as these megalithic figures. Like they were a part of our community. So,
Yeah.
as much as Kevin tried to keep his private life separate from the fans, he still was very willing to be a part of the community by, not looking at us as fans but as neighbors. And I
Right.
loved that about him. So yeah,
Yeah.
I got to go to, the movies with a hockey player that, was a good friend. Um, but the point I'm getting to, there was a fundraiser that we did every year at the ice rink where the Red Wings played. It was called the at the Skateathon, and it raised money for the school that I went to before I got into mainstream school because it was a school for special needs kids. And it kind of helped you with motor skills and making sure that you were going to be able to be integrated into mainstream school. So there was a fundraiser each year where you would get to go to the ice rink and skate around with the Red Wings all day, and
Oh, nice.
it raised money for the school. Um, I think at the very last one that I went to, I ended up winning a jersey through a raffle The jersey was for Glenn Murkowski, who started out as an Adirondack Red Wing, but by the time I started going to hockey games, he was already well known as an NHL player who had already uh, retired, I think.
Uh,
Um, Fast forward to 2000 when I got into, well, 99 2000 when I got into high school. I ended up going to I ended up being in school with his son,
oh,
and
night.
we never ran in the same groups, but we were always very we were, we were always very conversational with each other. Like if we would see
Right.
each other in the hall, we would exchange pleasantries. We were never like on odd or bad terms. Um, but that jersey that I had won, I had kept in a paper bag for years. It's like I had nowhere to display it. And when I did my very first fundraiser that I organized and hosted, I actually called um, Kyle, his son, and I said, okay, I know this is probably going to sound weird because, you and I, aren't necessarily close, but I'm doing this out of respect. I have a jersey that I won of your father's some years ago, and I'm organizing a fundraiser. Would you or your father have a problem if I put it into the running for a raffle? And he goes, I have no problem with it. And he goes, I don't think Dad will, but let me ask him. And I wanted him to ask him. I wasn't, offended that he was going to ask him. So they gave me the go ahead. It's not that I didn't find sentimental value in that jersey because I knew Glenn personally, his dad, and obviously I knew Kyle personally. But for me, I just knew them. It's not like I was close to them, so it
Right.
didn't really have that sentimental value. I knew that putting it into the raffle, it was going to go to somebody who actually wanted it because putting, they were putting a financial bet on possibly winning this.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, I guess you could say I could be accused of taking something that was of value and then, putting it in or kind of pawning it off or whatever. Um, but other than that, like I don't have anything that a celebrity that has belonged to a celebrity, um, because, like I said, it's just a means to an end, and I don't understand how. Like, if you had to put yourself into the mindset of a collector, what would make them so greedy as to look at a guy who works for the WWE archive and say, you need to give me a price or you're not getting this? It's like, dude, fuck you.
Right. It's goes back to just trying to get rich. They're going to be like, I don't know. I think some of that stuff probably does come from an auction, and they've probably got a certificate of authenticity with it
Yeah.
to prove that it did come from the wrestler that they're saying
Mhm.
it came from. So they're going to be like, well, I paid, let's say, $100,000 for this at the auction.
Mhm.
So they're going to be trying to make more than that when they try to give it, sell it back to the archive people.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just all about money.
The thing
That's
that
how I look at it anyway.
I don't know if you've seen this particular episode And granted, I haven't seen the entire episode. I just saw this one clip. But I think the thing that pissed me off the most was this arrogant chucklehead who owned the very first, I believe it was the very first robe that Ric Flair wore. It was the blue one. And
Hmm.
he owned it. The archivist from WWE brought Charlotte Flair with him to get this thing, and this motherfucker turned them down. And because they
Oh
didn't
wow.
give him the right price. How are you? I mean, as a I can't say I don't have any respect for Charlotte. I don't like the storylines that they write for her character. I'm sure she's a nice
Yeah.
person. Um, but uh, the training that Charlotte Flair has had since presumably since she was a kid, how are you going to say no to that woman and not worry about getting your neck snapped when it has to do with her fucking
Right.
father?
Yeah. It's
Especially
I've never
after he
like.
let her fucking try it on.
Yeah. Oh, he let her try it on.
Yeah, he let her try it on. So this has got more sentimental value to her than it does
Than it
him.
does to him.
He let her try it on and then said, "No, the price isn't good enough." What the fuck? He the deal that he did make with them is that they could loan it from him and put it on display, then at a certain time bring it back to him. It's like, you
Ah,
greedy motherfucker.
Amanda's here.
Well, yeah, Amanda. You definitely have to sign into things because I think yeah, it's probably because the I have my content set for this is not made for kids, so not just anybody can find it. It saves my channel for if it actually ever gets big. It saves my channel from being demonetized. Um, it allows commercials to still run on it.
So I just can't get over the fact that he let Charlotte put the robe on and then
And
was like, no.
like I said, I can't say I have any problem with Charlotte as a person because I don't know her personally. I just don't like how they make her character, like make her portray her character. Um, but you know how sentimental I get with certain things.
Yeah.
To see this woman be able to put her father's first robe on, to see the look on her face, Chad, it made me go into tears.
Okay. So I was in the arena in Charlotte. This was in 2018, I believe. It was a SmackDown show.
Yeah.
Um,
Hold on, hold that thought. Amanda,
okay.
you just have to be smarter than what you're working with. I'm going to get my ass kicked for that.
She's gonna kill you.
Continue your thought.
But no, she fought Natalia for the women's title, and
Mm-hmm.
at the time it had been publicly or had been publicized that Rick had been in the hospital. He'd been sick
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. So Charlotte won the title, and she was crying, and she said she dedicated that match to her dad. And she got out of the ring and started up the ramp. Ric Flair's music hit, and he walked out on the stage. And the look on her face, I was like, she didn't know he was there. Like she started crying harder, dropped the belt, and ran up to him and gave him a big hug.
Yeah.
If that was planned and she knew he was there, she wouldn't have dropped that belt.
Yeah.
But the only problem, and I've told Courtney and several other people this, the only problem that I've had, I just read that comment. Um,
Wait. I'm concerned. What about our previous issues? You and I have never had any issues that I'm aware of, unless you're talking about technological issues. I think that's what you're. I hope that's what you're talking about, because I don't think you and I have ever had any issues, not that I'm aware of. Um, but yeah, it's like this shit, just like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If I'm putting it into a musical perspective, the things in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame have more sentimental, emotional value to the performers than it does the fans. I don't think fans should own literal personal memorabilia that is that directly connected to a performer.
Well, let me ask you this, okay?
Okay.
What about? I saw a video, and it was the Foo Fighters.
Okay.
Um, this little kid, I think was like 11 or 12, got up on stage, and Dave Grohl handed him his guitar,
That's
and they
different.
played.
That is
Yeah, that's what I
different.
was about to ask you.
That's different only because Dave handed it to him and said, "This is yours now." That is absolutely
but
different.
but he did turn around and say, "I better not see that on eBay
Yeah.
in a week, or I'm gonna
Well,
kick your
obviously
ass."
he was busting his balls. No,
Yeah,
I actually did see that video
I didn't know if
a
you'd seen
couple
it or
of days.
not.
Yeah.
I had saw it and I'm like, that's really cool. Like, I've never really listened to the Foo Fighters.
If it's given to you by the person, it's going to have sentimental value to you.
Yeah,
Um, like I'm trying to think. The lead singer of Saving Abel, when I saw them in Johnson City, Tennessee, uh, he gave me one of his guitar picks, and I still have it. Like, I'm
nice.
not fucking getting rid of that thing. I mean, not that I could, because actually the Saving Abel logo is now kind of gone from it. So I mean, if it gets lost, it's not really a big deal. But it's at least I have the memory in my mind.
Yeah,
Um, but like, if it's given to you directly by the person that it's connected to, then I agree that a fan, yes, should have that memorabilia. But that doesn't actually that isn't actual memorabilia. That I don't consider that memorabilia. I consider memorabilia something that the artist or performer used that you didn't previously have, that you got from a third party source.
gotcha.
If it Because you then, if you're looking at it from your perspective, with the Dave Grohl thing, you could consider anything that you're given as a gift from your family memorabilia.
Yeah.
And yes, Amanda, I know Discord is a piece of trash. That's why we use Facebook now. And actually, you know what I'm just thinking? Because of the scenery that we're using, this kind of old TV never had picture in picture.
That's funny. No, the wrestling memorabilia
Hmm.
to me, and then this is just how my mind works.
Hmm.
If I had, say, Sting's baseball bat or Sting's trench coat,
Hmm.
that's going to be worth more to me than like Ric Flair's robe or um, Hulk Hogan's feather boas or whatever,
Yeah.
because Sting is my all-time favorite wrestler.
Right.
So if I could get a hold of any memorabilia, it would be Sting's baseball bat, Triple H's sledgehammer, and Undertaker's urn. That'd be like my top three things I'd want to go after.
Hmm. But
And
yeah,
out of everything, I think that urn is probably the most well known.
yeah. I think they're actually looking for that right now, or at least based on one of the episodes I saw, they were looking for. I don't know. They could have found it by now. Just gotta be smart.
I just saw that SpongeBob meme. That SpongeBob meme where he's like look like a chicken pecking the ground.
I wait.
He's
What?
got his hands. There's a SpongeBob meme where they do the words like that with the.
Oh, okay. I'm like, they
He's
can't
got
put
his
me.
hands on his side and he's doing like this.
I was wondering what you were talking about because I was like, they can't put memes in the chat. I didn't know what you were referring
No, that's what that reminds me of. That's what popped into my head.
to. I don't think Sting aims to be adorable. That man is fucking terrifying.
He looks like the crow. Wait, which is the figurine she got? Is it the crow? Like painted up like the crow?
It's got to be the Crow. Is that where he got his persona from? Oh wait, no, he
Yeah.
was he was long before the Crow, wasn't he?
Well,
Because
before the crow, he had the bleach blonde like crew cut and the neon face paint, and he was like the surfer dude.
that's right. I
And
never I
then
never saw him like that.
back in, and the only reason I remember this is it's when the NWO, became a thing in '96.
Yeah,
He stopped like dyeing his hair blonde, started letting it grow out a little bit. The color started, his normal hair color came back,
yeah,
and then he went away for like, well, he was out of the ring for a full year, and he started showing up in the rafters painted like the crow. But I could be wrong. So
yeah.
if somebody knows for sure, but I think it was Scott Hall who told him that he should paint his face up like the crow, and he went
Uh,
and saw what it was about, and he's like, you know what, I think I'll do it.
yeah.
Then he started showing up in the rafters, and he had the vulture with him all the time, and
Trying to think because the face paint that he had when he had the blonde buzz cut, it the face paint alone, not the buzz cut obviously, but the face paint alone reminded me too much of uh for me it was too similar to Ultimate Warrior.
well, there's a reason for that.
Why?
Sting and Ultimate Warrior broke into the business as a tag team.
Oh, see that I didn't know
They were
because I
called the
was
Blade Runners.
because I was just watching something recent or a couple minutes or before we got on stream. I was watching something about Ultimate Warrior. Um,
Yeah,
that was
they were the Blade Runners, and they were one of the first tag teams, I guess, that had the paint.
yeah.
But they wore like dark circles around their eyes and like dark lipstick or whatever.
Hmm.
And I can't remember the company that they were hired for, but like Sting said, he never had any interest in being a wrestler. He was a bodybuilder, and um, he was in the gym working out one day, and a promoter saw him and was like, "You should give this thing a try,"
Hmm.
and it just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Something different. I thought Scott Hall suggested it, and it was the UWF that
I'm wondering, and this is completely off topic, but would the Crow movie have been as big of a hit as it was had Brandon Lee not died?
I think it would have, because it
You
was a
think
really
so?
good movie. Yeah, I mean
Oh,
it brought on a couple of more. There was at least one more movie after that one, so
I think Amanda sent something to the group chat. I
she
don't
did.
know.
I just looked at it.
I was gonna say I don't. Your cats are very loud.
That's crazy because she's in the other room.
Oh, I can hear.
It's
Um,
butterscotch Oreos laying right next to me.
yeah, that's the Funko Pop. Um, those. Oh my god, I can't believe how popular those are. Like those weren't supposed to be as popular as they are.
You know, I've never bought a Funko Pop until the day before Halloween, and I bought a Jack Skellington Funko Pop Christmas ornament for my tree.
Oh, so it's not actually a
No, it's
Funko
made
Pop.
by Funko Pop.
No, I know, but it's not an actual Funko
No,
Pop.
yeah, it's not the one you want to keep in the box and never open.
Right.
But
And actually, a now former friend of mine, he shits on me all the time because I keep all my Funkos in the box. I don't display them because I don't want fucking dust on them. Because
right,
if the dust gets on them, it'll stick to them and it'll degrade the paint. I'm not willing to have that happen,
yeah,
especially with one that my mom got me. It was a superhero version of Stan Lee. It's Stan
yeah.
Lee wearing a cape,
Oh, cool.
and it is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. Um, so when she ordered it for me, it came from China, and the box was beat all to hell. So what she did, she ordered me a shadow box that looked like a Funko Pop box. They did engravings all over the plastic to make it look like a Funko Pop box. So it's Stan Lee in a shadow box.
Cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You have to send a
Uh,
picture of that at some point.
yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to the group chat later. Let's see. There were two more movies made, but neither of them were any. I didn't even know that there were two more movies made.
I know
Um,
there was the
I
only
don't
other
even.
one I knew about was the Crow City of Angels.
I don't. I don't think I've seen the first Crow. I don't think I. Yeah.
The first one was really good. Hey, none of that.
Oh yeah. you. Yeah. Usually we don't do that until we're off stream. um. Yeah. It's just the story that I always fall back on as far as the memorabilia. The story that I always fall back on is I went to Comic Con for the first time in 2014, and I met Jason Frank, who played the original Green Ranger from Power Rangers.
I see
Uh,
you're gonna make Patrick jealous because he's like the biggest Power Rangers fan I know.
oh yeah, Jason has become a personal friend. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Um,
Now Patrick's gonna want to meet you now just to meet him.
I'm not saying I have constant contact with Jason, but he is a friend. But anyway, I met the first Comic Con I went to was Wizard World Nashville in 2014, and uh, I literally went there to meet Jason Frank. Got a VIP meet and greet with him, and one of the stories he told, I think I've actually told you and Amanda this. Um, he said that a kid, or not a kid, but somebody who was probably in their early to mid 20s, came up to him, said, "I'm doing a fundraiser. Would you be willing to sign some items so that we can auction them off?"
I remember
And
this.
uh, he goes, "Sure." Jason is very, very fan oriented. Like, if you're not if you're like a corporate suit type of person, he doesn't want anything to do with you. Like, he is
Right.
still one giant kid. He's still very professional, but he's one giant kid. And so this kid, I say kid, but um, went up to him and said, "Would you mind signing some of this stuff?"
Excuse me.
And he goes, "Sure." So he signed like 8 different things, and he didn't think anything of it. Well, Jason's not stupid. He searches his own name on all of these auction sites, and he started searching his name on one of the auction sites, and he found these items that he remembered signing from this convention. And he said from that day on, he goes, "I don't mind signing things, but I don't like doing it." He goes, "I
Yeah.
will do it, but I don't like doing it for that reason."
Yeah.
And I don't blame him.
I don't
And,
either.
you know, had I not heard that story, being my first Comic Con, I probably would have had the mindset of, I'm going to get as many, autographs as I can. But it really reinforced you have to have sentimental value to something to not look at it 20 years down the road and say, "Hey, that could get me money." And because especially when you get up in age like we are, Chad, you want to have something to look at to remind you of something in case you forget. Because if you get something and then sell it for money because you need money, when you get to be 85, like we're close to, and you start to get dementia,
Like we're close, really?
when you start to get dementia and you're starting to lose your mind, you don't have that visual representation to look at and be like, okay, I do remember that. I feel like the things that you have in your life should be there to help you remember things when your brain is trying to make you forget.
Yeah,
And yes, I'm not
that's pretty
afraid.
good.
I'm not afraid of the fact that I just called us old.
I don't know who's old. I'm not old.
um, but yeah, like, and I think that really made me going forward. I think that made me look at the people that I saw at Comic Cons a lot differently. Like the celebrities that were there, I literally don't even have pictures with some of these people, but I literally just went up to them and for the purpose of having a conversation with them
Yeah,
because I can remember those conversations and it means more to me than having something physical. I have a binder of wrestlers' pictures signed to hand down to my daughter to remember our time of. See, that is sentimental. That I believe is a sentimental thing.
I was with him when he bought most of those pictures.
Oh yeah.
Those are from indie shows.
Um, and the other thing that I think bothers me about getting signed, like pre-signed pictures from celebrities, and this is nothing against the celebrities that I'm going to name, because I know that this is just what they do. I think it kind of it's kind of one of those awkward things where you want to have a personal experience with these people because of what they mean to you. So when you get a picture that they have pre-signed and it has just their fucking catchphrase on it, it's like, okay, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? It's like it doesn't mean anything to me because
Yeah,
because 30 or 40 other people have that. So I would rather have a one-on-one conversation where
yeah.
nobody else is involved and I have that conversation with them. Like that is mine with them.
That's what the few autographs I have.
Hmm.
I got them by going up and asking them to sign the cover of my CD.
Hmm.
Um,
How many times have you asked somebody to sign your titties?
I haven't. I got too I got too much chest hair for that. It'll ruin the marker.
If Amanda's still in the chat, she probably just passed out.
but but no, if you get something that's pre-signed, how do you know it's actually from that celebrity? Like I want to
Well,
see them sign it myself.
no, like I've gone to conventions very early where I see the celebrities doing it, so I know they've signed it.
Uh,
Um, so I have no question whether it's them that signed it because I'm very good. I have an eagle eye when it comes to signatures. I can tell when a celebrity has signed something and when one of their lackeys has signed it for them.
yeah.
So most of the time, I can figure out when at least who admits what that he has too much hair on his boobs.
Look, I had to do that sleep study last night, and I had to shave some of the hair right here. So if I
I
had
mean,
anybody sign, it'd be right there.
Amanda, just be glad that when he's on stream with us, he doesn't start talking like Chewbacca.
That's because I don't know how.
That's probably gonna sound good to anybody listening.
All
See,
I know
and
is I got enough body hair to build a Chewbacca.
see, the thing is, I don't particularly like Star Wars. I don't
I
dislike
don't
Star
either.
Wars, but it's just not,
I do.
it's just not for me.
I
But
never could get into it.
it's really sad that as much as I don't like it, I can do Chewbacca very well.
I never could get into it. I tried to watch it. Now my wife, she likes the original three that came out in the 70s.
It was episode 4, 5, and 6, and they came out in the 80s.
Not
See,
all. No, so I remember in the
5 and
70s,
6.
Courtney, that 70s show,
5
they were
and
talking about them
Five
on
and
that show.
6 were in the 80s.
that's
No,
probably well, that's probably why she married you because you remind her of Chewbacca.
no, I know why she married me. She married me because um,
you
there's
wore
a
you wore her down after what 15 years of knowing her.
just 10,
Might as
but
well, might as well
but
be 15.
we got married, and then she's like, for some reason, I've got a really strong love for Brandon Fraser movies. Again, none of that.
um, I
Lord
ne-
have mercy.
other than other than Biodome and Encino Man, I never really saw anything
Oh shoot, I've seen
in.
Biodome, I've seen Encino Man,
Well, no, I
George of
never
the
really saw. I
Jungle,
never saw the
Moana.
appeal of Brendan Fraser. George of the Jungle was good. I'll give you that.
The
But
Mummy, the Mummy movies he was in.
I never saw any of the ones he was in. I saw the ones that Dwayne Johnson was in.
Well, let's see. The second Mummy movie Dwayne Johnson was in near the very end. That's where they came up with doing the Scorpion King.
Okay.
Um, but he was only in for like, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes or so.
Hmm.
Brandon Fraser fought him in that movie.
Killed him.
Brandon Fraser killed him in that movie.
That was
But
when you were talking about being what? I'm confused. Although it doesn't take much, I'm still confused. Um, that's another thing. Um, what is your opinion on wrestlers who take a break from the business, go out, do other things, like acting, and then come back? Um, how
I don't
do
have a problem with that as long as they don't walk straight into a title picture when they come back.
well, my biggest thing is how do they still keep the character or the persona relevant? Because I think Dwayne Johnson is more comfortable being Dwayne Johnson now than he is The Rock.
Yeah, but when he's back in the WWE and his music hits, the place goes crazy. It's
Right. No, I know
it's
that.
something about those wrestlers' entrance music when it hits, the fans remember who they were as a wrestler,
Yeah.
and that's what keeps their character relevant.
But
However,
if you leave the business and come back though and you have changed, isn't that essentially going to make your character change so that there's a chance that the fans may not connect with your character like they did before?
it just depends. Because The Rock had left for a while and made a movie or two, and then he came back. But when he came back, they turned him heel, so he had to change his character just to
Mhm.
get the fans not to be on his side.
Mhm.
Um, but for the most part, when you come back, I mean, think about it. CM Punk was gone for like 7 years,
Yeah.
and he came back at AEW just a couple of months ago. And as soon as his music hit, the place erupted. It's like the people didn't forget him.
No, I know. I actually
It's
saw that. I saw that on a video clip.
it's
Um,
um it's all about, I guess, how you left the business. If you left the business and the fans were like understanding of why you were doing it, they're going to be just as receptive of you when you come back.
mhm.
If you left the business and said that you did it because nobody was behind you and you just lost your love for the sport and everything, um, when you try to come back, they're going to think you're like a hypocrite.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a delay on the comments. I don't know why. Either that or we're just kind of jumping from topic to topic quicker than you're typing. I don't know.
Yeah, he has. Patrick says CM Punk's got the biggest pop in AEW so far since they've been a company.
Okay, you're seeing the comments before I do because literally as you finished that sentence, his comment popped up for me.
Uh, but yeah, the thing is though, with him, fans were wanting him to come back from the moment he left
Yeah.
because,
Um
like in the middle of matches, people would start with CM Punk chants. He wouldn't even
yeah.
be nowhere near the arena.
Now, when you and I were, I mean, obviously we were teenagers considerably far apart from each other, but
4 years
um
is not that far.
well, it it in respect in this context it is. In this context it is because I started watching in 99
Okay.
and you were already, out doing your own thing because you had graduated. Um but um I had come in watching at the almost at the end of the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Um and then were the Attitude Era and the Aggression Era the same thing? Or did the Aggression Era come
Oh,
after Attitude? Because I
it was
know
after.
one of their one of the WWE or WWF at the time music CDs was called Aggression.
Yeah, that was after the Attitude Era. Um, and really, for me, it started when Cena had his debut match on SmackDown.
Mhm.
Kurt Angle had called out anybody in the back. It was an open challenge,
Yeah.
and Cena come out and he asked him what his name was, and he's like John Cena. And he's like, and what makes you think you can go head to head with me? And he's like, ruthless aggression. And it wasn't long after that they started talking about the ruthless aggression era.
I was just watching one of the what was it, the Royal Rumble from '08, where I think Cena, I think it was when Cena beat Triple H to go on to WrestleMania. What I found the funniest about that was I think it was the third or fourth person in was fucking Hornswoggle,
Yeah.
and the entire time this little shifty bastard all he did was hide under the ring.
Yeah.
And then the one time he came out, he yanked somebody off the rope to bring them down over so that they were, out of the running. And then he ran back under the fucking ring.
Hornswoggle, they used to get away with so much with him just because he was so short.
Yeah. Um.
So I was at Raw in 2007
Mhm.
um, in Charlotte, and it's when trying to remember. Oh, Ric Flair was in the middle of his "I'm not going to retire." Like he come out and made like everybody was expecting him to announce that he wasn't going to retire, and he made that announcement. And then Vince McMahon come out, and he was like, "I'm so glad to hear that you're not going to retire as long as you keep winning, because the next match you lose is your last match."
Oh wow.
And so that night we were parked where we had to walk right past the garage.
Yeah.
So we sat there and watched a bunch of the wrestlers leave and waved at them and everything.
Mhm.
Hornswoggle come out in a car with two full size people in it. Hornswoggle was the one driving.
Wow.
Like they had pedals on, like wooden blocks on the gas pedal and the brake pedal, just so he could reach them.
No, they probably had the same setup that I have, with the gas and the brake on the side of where the where the windshield thing is, because
Well, see, no,
you
because
know how
when he pulled out, he had one hand on top of the wheel and he was waving at people like this, and he slowed down and then he turned while he was waving.
that doesn't mean that they had blocks. He still could have had hand controls, because I even though I shouldn't have, I used to be able to control. I used to be able to control the hand controls with my knee. I should not have been doing that, but because of my dexterity, I have to have what, and I hope YouTube doesn't take me down for this, for using this word. But it's something that they use in that they either use in racing or used to use in racing, called the suicide knob, where
Mm,
it allows you to make smoother
yeah.
rotations with the wheel. I have a suicide knob on the wheel, and I have the hand control over here. Um, and no, I don't play it like a guitar like this. But I I got to a point where I got so good with driving that I could do certain things that I wasn't supposed to, and still control the car. So it's very likely that instead of blocks, because those would have had to have been some fucking gigantic blocks, and that doesn't give you the control of the gas and the brake that you need. Because I've seen those blocks. One of my good friends um, is a double amputee,
Yeah.
and uh, he had those blocks, and he drove so erratically, even for having been a double amputee for, at that time, 19 years. He still drove not erratically, but very. You could tell that it wasn't as controlled as it should have been. Um, but because he was using blocks, I don't trust driving with blocks.
I was just sitting there going, y'all got somebody who's like 3 foot tall driving, and you got two 6 foot tall people in the seat with you. What's wrong with this picture? But
Yeah.
we saw the guy that I went with, Lillian Garcia, when she drove out, he pretty much walked up to the car. He stepped off the curb into the road, and he was like, and she stopped and looked. She grinned and waved at him, and then drove. I'm like, Todd, you gonna get ran over? Yeah,
Um, Going back to what I was saying about when I first started watching, the thing that I never understood, because I never knew if it was real or not, was when you would see they would put video from the locker room, or not the locker room, but the back area. Um, they would put video feed from the back area on the jumbotron that was out in the arena, and you saw what was going on back there. So I never knew if it was legit that Vince was getting pissed at people, or if it was part of the storyline. So if somebody was actually getting fired, I never could tell.
well, that means they were doing their job properly. If you couldn't tell,
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that they were doing their job well. It was that they were misleading people. Because
but if you
if
think
it was
about it, that's what wrestling is, though.
but if you know, you would, knowing that wrestling, at least in that respect, not the not the physical aspect of it, but the stuff that goes on in the back room or in the back area, you you automatically assume that that's all storyline because why would they broadcast somebody getting fired? Because that's not really some. I mean, especially if you're seriously getting fired, why would somebody want that broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, usually if it's something like that and they fire somebody on TV, it's storyline purposes because they'll bring
Yeah,
them back in just a couple of months.
yeah, and that's usually
Um,
what happened. That's why That's why I lost faith in the what they were doing because you could never believe what they were doing. Hey, we're firing this person. No, you're fucking not. They're gonna be back next week.
but now I don't know if you saw it, but it's been 2 or 3 years ago. Um, when Brock Lesnar was the champion, and he was champion for like 500 and something days, and he only defended that belt like 15 times in them 500 and something days. They had him in a
I
feud
remember that.
with Roman Reigns, who is my wife's favorite wrestler.
I got
Um,
pictures with him too, Courtney.
Ryan just said he's got pictures with Roman Reigns where he met Roman Reigns. She just gave a thumbs up. I thought she'd do something to be a little more jealous than that.
I thought she was gonna give me the finger.
He said he thought you was going to flip him off when he said that, but but
I I actually met Roman Reigns. I had every intention of meeting Roman Reigns. I was on the way to the convention, but I met him after getting to the convention after having just gotten into a car accident. So
oh wow.
yeah, that was quite the experience. But go ahead.
So um, they had Roman in the feud with Brock at the time,
Hmm.
and he went out to the ring and they were interviewing him, and he was supposed to have a face to face with Brock
Hmm.
on Raw. Well, the guy who interviewed him, who was in the ring, and I can't remember who it was. Patrick probably knows. Um, but they were like, "Well, Brock's not here because his contract, he could pick and choose when he showed up and when he wrestled and all that." They're like, "He's not here. He called earlier today. He's not going to be here." And he's like, "Oh, so y'all let me come all the way out here for this just to tell me he's not going to be here tonight?" So he goes to the back to
I
Gorilla
remember this.
to Vince, and he's like, "So you're not going to tell me that he's not here? You shook my hand right before I go out to the ring, and you're not going to tell me Brock ain't here? Not going to tell me your boy ain't here?" So they went to commercial, and then when they came back, Vince was like, "He's been suspended." He's like, when you're a superstar like Brock Lesnar, yeah, you get certain perks. Roman Reigns isn't there yet, and I'm sitting there going, Brock shouldn't be there. He's never there. He shouldn't be the champion. So
I
what
think.
pissed me off about that was um, Vince went on the Stone Cold podcast,
Hmm.
and Stone Cold flat out asked him, why is it the champion has to be there to defend the title at every pay per view, and they have to be at every house show, but Brock, he never has to be there. And Vince is like, well, he's a special attraction, and if he's there every week, he's no longer a special attraction. Okay, you want to push him as a special attraction? That's fine. Don't give him the belt, because by not having him there, it's devaluing your main title.
Will you please
And
tell your cat that I don't care about his or her opinion?
I think she heard you because she turned around and looked.
Good. About the only woman that listens to me.
But no, by doing that, uh, I think Seth Rollins was the Intercontinental Champion at the time, and he was there defending his title every time they asked him to. It made the Intercontinental title look like it meant more than the WWE title.
Yeah.
And um, also, by doing that, the fact that CM Punk had been a champion for like something like 435 days
Hmm.
and defended the title well over 100 times.
Yeah.
Then they give Brock the title, and all of a sudden he's got it for 500 and something days, but he doesn't defend it but like 15 times. That was a slap in CM Punk's face.
Yeah.
Um, Me and Patrick talked about that on several occasions. I was like, I don't agree with that. You know,
Hmm.
if you're going to be a part time wrestler, okay, fine, be a part time wrestler, but don't be the champion.
Unless you're Hall and Oates, and then you're a part-time lover.
But
They should make have somebody make a song called Part-Time Wrestler and have it be Brock's entrance music.
right. And see, they've got him in the feud with Roman Reigns now, except this time Roman's the champion.
um how is and maybe it's not even a thing, or maybe it's not even a thing right now, but do we know how Roman's health is at the moment? Is
As
he
far as I know, he's doing good because he's the champion on SmackDown. He's been there. He's been in pretty much like one of the top storylines on SmackDown since like back in June or something.
okay? Well, now that I have Peacock, thanks to a certain somebody, I can actually watch these shows. But
Not gonna say any names, but his initials is Chad McDaniel.
the redheaded stepchad.
But yeah, no, I don't really like the direction they've got him going. I mean, he's a heel, which he became a heel, and the fans got behind him more than they ever were.
Yeah,
But at the same time, this whole head of the table, I'm the tribal chief. I'm just, I haven't watched an episode of SmackDown, and I couldn't tell you when. And I haven't
hmm
watched Raw since I was at the beach back in June. But all the videos and stuff, it's always all over my news feed on Facebook
hmm
and Instagram. I just get sick and tired of the whole "I'm the tribal chief, acknowledge me." You're the same family with Rikishi and The Rock
I
and
was
all these
just
other
about
people. I'm willing to bet there's somebody else in that family who's a tribal chief over you.
I was just about to ask you, what is your opinion on family dynasties in that company?
I mean, they've made for some of the best wrestlers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
the top for me is always, as far as family dynasties go, will always be the Hart dynasty.
yeah.
Because I was a big, like, big Bret Hart fan back in the day.
Because the ones I know of off the top of my head are the Hearts, um, Runnels, or Rhodes,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then the Annoy clan. Like, I know that they're not all Annoy, but
Yeah.
like Roman's
Well, and
actual.
then you got the Guerreros.
Well, yeah, okay, the Guerreros. And see, that was weird to me because I didn't know that they were actually family. Like, that's when I was really starting to understand wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that I thought that was just kayfabe. I thought that was storyline at the
Mm-mm.
time. I didn't actually, until I started really researching it, I didn't understand that there was actually a like a lineage connection between those
Yeah.
guys. Um,
Well, and here's a little bit of trivia. It was before you started watching, but back in it was the late '80s or early '90s. I think it was. I think it might have been actually 1990.
mhm.
They had a storyline where there was this huge egg, right? And at Survivor Series, because they were going to do it for Thanksgiving, and
I
Survivor
fucking
Series is always the pay per view before Thanksgiving.
I fucking
It was going to
remember this.
hatch, and you were
Yep.
going to see what was in the egg.
Yep.
And it hatched, and it was this big, goofy ass looking turkey thing that they called the gobbledygooker.
I remember this. I didn't watch it, but I remember this.
The person in the turkey costume was Hector Guerrero, Eddie's brother.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that until just about a week ago, thanks to What Culture Wrestling.
Mhm.
Um, but I go back and look at these old shows, and several things run through my head. Like, one, some of the storylines they went with, like, what were they thinking? Two, some of the fashion that was in style back then. when you see the crowd, like what were we thinking?
Yeah.
And then three, and this is kind of morbid, but wonder how many of them people in that arena right there are still alive.
Right. Oh my God. Speaking of which, this is something I learned back in 2003 when tried college for the first time. Um, do you know that the laugh track and the applause track that you hear on TV is all dead people? Like that was recorded back in the 40s.
Oh wow,
So that's
I did
never
not know that.
that's never live. That's always recorded, and it's all the people that you're hearing clap and applaud and laugh are all dead.
I never knew that.
Yep, I learned that. I was in radio and TV broadcasting, and I learned that, and I was like, that is fucking morbid.
That's crazy.
Yeah, unless you have a show like The Price is Right. But even then, sometimes they use the laugh track. Um, but here's the other thing. I don't know if you know this. I only know this because of going to New York City. Um, they actually have in the audience, like there's the audience is here. They have something up here that the audience can see. It's not just TVs so that they can see the stage. They actually have um, like a ticker that goes across the ceiling, and it actually tells them when to applaud.
Yeah, I have seen
So,
stuff like that.
so it's not natural, applause. It's
Yeah,
coerced. um,
that learn something new every day.
yeah. Um, but yeah, my mom took me to New York City, to all the different to the Ed Sullivan Theater, where they record. Well, at that time it was the Late Show with David Letterman. Um, and then we went to, although even though this is what pissed me off, we went to a set that looked like the Jay Leno set, the Tonight Show. But the Tonight Show is taped out in Burbank, in California. It's
Yeah,
like, why would you have Jay Leno's set and David Letterman's set in New York City when Jay Leno's out in Burbank?
yeah.
I never understood that. And God knows I ain't going out to fucking California to see the real set. I ain't stepping foot in California. Fuck that.
And no, because it's going to fall off the country one of these days and float out to the Pacific.
Yeah, not in our, unfortunately, not in our lifetime.
That's like my dad. My dad and my mom and my aunt Becky, they went with us to the Outer Banks in 2010. Like we went out there twice.
Yeah.
Like me and Courtney went out for our anniversary, and then we went back 2 months later with my parents and my aunt. And we were out on the beach, just walking the beach, and my dad's like, "They say in about 100 years there won't be no Outer Banks; it'll all be underwater." And I'm like, well, "I'm glad I won't be here to not see it. It's too
Well,
pretty out there."
I don't know. We're pretty close to 80 apparently, so we might see
Speak for
it.
yourself, young whippersnapper.
Hey, you keep talking like that, it's gonna just prove that you're closer to 100. um, so I think it was in the group chat earlier that I was talking about the root beer that I was trying. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Can you see that?
I can. Yeah,
Shit, where is it? There.
right, right there.
Yeah, this stuff is absolutely delicious, and it's got instead of the normal root beer um, ingredients, it's actually got nutmeg in it. So
Oh, really?
it makes it a smoother root beer, and it is so good. Like I want to go get like 5 more bottles of it. And I mean, come on, the bottle looks so cool.
It does. Like when I first saw it sitting there, I'm like, man, he's got like a beer. He's just got a
Yeah,
beer just chilling beside him.
yeah. It's kind of like a pirate. It's a pirate beer bottle
That's cool.
because you got the um, if I can get it open, it pops right open.
Nice. That's cool.
um, I know one of the things that we were talking about in the chat earlier was something I wanted to touch on is the the history of drug use in the industry. Um, you obviously know a hell of a lot more about that than I do. Not that I'm implying that you're familiar with drugs or anything. I'm not implying that. But the whole reason we're having this conversation is because you know a hell of a lot more than about the wrestling industry than I do. Um, what do you know? Because for me, like I said, the one that stands out is the Hulk Hogan incident.
Yeah.
I don't know if anything happened prior to that that is noteworthy, but that's where my knowledge of it starts. Is the controversy and the conflict between Vince and Hogan when they tried to put blame on Hogan for something like you explained. Everybody was saying Vince was supplying it, but they made Hogan the face of it or something.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure Hogan was actually called to testify against Vince in that the steroid trial.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really know what the judges like, what the final verdict was. All I know was what came out of it was random drug testing.
Hmm.
And all this, for years I thought, oh well, them wrestlers know when it's going to be. It's not so random.
Yeah.
Um, but then I remember reading an interview with Jeff Hardy back in like 2007,
That
2008,
poor
something
man.
like that.
That poor man's been through some shit.
Yeah, but he like they interviewed him because he had gotten suspended,
Yep.
and they interviewed him, and he said, "Well, I had took I can't remember what kind it was. It was a prescription drug, and it belonged to a buddy of his that he was hanging out with the day before.
Hmm.
He took it. He's like, they won't be nobody at the show tomorrow. I'll be good." And then he shows up to the arena, and the drug testing people were there, and he's like, "Shit, I'm gonna get caught." So he went and did the drug test, and went and had his match that night. And then a couple of days later, the results come back, and he got suspended. And so that was the first time I was like, okay, well, maybe it was actually randomized.
Yeah.
Um, Now I know a few years later, when his contract was up, instead of renewing, he decided to leave.
Hmm.
And then it was like a couple of days after he didn't renew his contract, um, police raided his house and found all them like illegal steroids and stuff in his house.
Oh wow.
Um, I know he really, when he was in TNA, he cheated the fans out of a match with Sting because they were supposed to had both both people say it would have been a really good match, but Jeff Hardy showed up either high as a kite or drunk for
I
the
heard about
match.
that. I've seen footage from that. He was fucked up.
Yeah, so like Eric Bischoff, come out and told Sting what was going on, and like Sting ended the match and physically held him down for the 3 count, and then it lasted like 90 seconds. Like they built their whole pay per view around that match
And it lasted 90 seconds.
because Jeff Hardy was messed up.
I could make a sex joke out of that so bad, but I won't. I
But no,
That's somebody who is doing it their first time and isn't really experienced.
right? But
Talk
but
about a
no,
minute. Talk about a minute, man.
It's a minute and a half.
Yeah.
But no, I've it used to be when a book came out like the wrestler's autobiography,
Mhm.
I was the first in line to get it.
Mhm.
Well, I've always had a pretty high tolerance to pain.
Mhm.
So anytime I've been injured or had surgery or something, I've hardly ever taken the pain meds anyway because the way I've said it is I've been injured so much that pain isn't pain the way pain should be,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yep.
Um, but I've just rarely ever took the pain meds. Like I might take two or three out of the whole bottle.
Mhm.
But reading those books and reading the wrestlers talk about getting like hooked on the pain meds, I've always been like, this is some high powered stuff. I don't want to get addicted to it. I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
Now, my third shoulder surgery, I would I would have to take the medicine like 30 minutes before I would start the rehab
Yeah.
because they cut my shoulder from here like all the way down going up under my arm.
Mhm.
But they're like, you're not sick, you're injured, and if we don't start this rehab immediately, you're not going to get the motion back. So I'm sitting there, they're pulling my arm up like this and everything with a fresh cut with staples in it right down my arm.
Oh.
Um, so they're like, you're going to take one of your pain meds 30 minutes before you start the physical therapy.
Yeah.
That way, the medicine has time to kick in and it's not going to hurt as much. So I did that for like the first 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, no, I'm done. I'm not taking any more of this medicine.
Yeah. Um, dialing back to the Hardy Boys, I have a question that you might know the answer to. I know I don't know if he's still there. I know that they brought Jeff back to WWE.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's still there because, like I said, I don't watch
he
him.
is.
My understanding was that they had all but distanced themselves from him for a while. Um, presumably, I guess now, um, the way I understand it, it is because he was going to rehab or something. Um, what
Um,
what is their reasoning for not bringing Matt back? Because I
well, they
don't.
did.
They brought Matt back.
I mean, he's not there now. He's in AEW now, but it's like 3 or 4 years ago. The Hardy Boys came back at WrestleMania, and they were a surprise return. Like nobody knew they were coming back. They put them in a tag team match, and they actually won the titles their first night back.
Because who Matt became after he left the WWE, like with
Broken.
with no, he seemed to bulk out like he was on steroids, but he seemed to look frail and, like you said, broken. He's got frizzy ass hair.
Yeah. Well, his character.
It was almost like a menacing Matt Hardy.
Yeah, his character in TNA, he became broken Matt Hardy,
Mm-hmm.
and it pretty much rejuvenated his career. And Jeff teamed up with him, and I guess they called him Brother Nero because his middle name is Nero. Um, Jeff actually broke out into his Willow character. He used to have a character called Willow the Wisp, and he wore a mask, and so he brought that character to TNA. But whenever they left and went back to WWE, they were just Matt and Jeff again for a while until they split them up, and then Matt became a tag team with Bray Wyatt. It was before Bray Wyatt was the Fiend, but they actually won the WWE tag team titles together.
When Wyatt became the Fiend, he looked like he was trying too much to be part of fucking Slipknot. I never understood. I didn't understand
Oh
that.
no, I love the Fiend character. I don't
I
know much about Slipknot, but whenever he first came back, and he was on this whole Firefly Funhouse segment, and it looked like a stupid like Mister Rogers ripoff. I'm like, what the hell am I watching? But after like 3 weeks, he was like, "So I've got somebody bad inside me that sometimes likes to come out. Would you like to see him?" And so then all of a sudden, he was the fiend, and I'm like, "Holy shit! He looks like a walking horror movie."
Yeah.
And I showed it to Courtney, and I'm like, now I'm intrigued, and
Yeah.
I got really behind that character. Like that character, he sold the most merch of anybody on the roster, and was still selling the most merch of anybody on the roster when they released him this year. So I don't understand why you get rid of a cash cow like that.
Is that the first time that Alexa adopted a dark character because she became
Yeah,
a psycho?
that kind of character. Yeah, before she had been psycho, but in a whole different way. Like she was just like just being an evil bitch, or like some of the people Amanda talks about that she knows.
Okay, I don't know if Amanda's still in the chat. Because I
I
haven't
don't
seen.
either.
I haven't seen anybody chat for a while, so I don't know if Amanda's still in there. But I don't want to say anything specifically to get her riled up, but I am curious if you had to create a character for Amanda, like what would that character consist of? And I'm gonna ask you this: will it piss Amanda off so that she yells at you after we get off stream? Do you fear for
Honest,
your life?
honestly, no, 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 no. Because honestly, the best wrestlers are just themselves with the volume turned way up.
Yeah,
So that's, I don't know if I would really change anything, to be honest.
I want to see her and Alexa team up.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, maybe throw a little bit of Paige in there.
Speaking of Paige, let me tell you what my wife did.
Oh no.
Do you remember how many years ago was it her tape come out?
Who?
Oh no.
Paige.
I don't know.
You know the tape I'm talking about, right?
We can't mention it on here, but yes.
Okay. So that morning we woke up and it was all over Facebook, and uh people were posting it on Instagram and all that stuff. And I'm like, there's no way. So then I Googled it, and sure enough, Paige, tape, you know,
Hmm.
Brad Maddox, Xavier Woods. We go to my grandparents' house. Courtney, I'm sitting on the couch beside my grandpa. Courtney's in the recliner. My phone, ding. I looked down. I got a Facebook message from Courtney. She found the links to those tapes and sent them to me.
I didn't send the actual picture. I sent the link. Your grandpa didn't see anything. He
And
did.
so I didn't realize what it was. And I clicked the link while I'm sitting beside my grandpa.
That's on you.
And the tape come up. I'm like, holy shit. And I closed it real quick.
That's on you. You know
And,
that my messages are NSFW.
and Courtney says, uh, we left. And I'm like, I can't believe you sent me that. And she goes, I thought you'd want to see her tape. I'm like, well, yeah, but not sitting beside my grandpa.
Well,
You know my
that was
messages
just
are not
that was
safe for
just
work.
an
And
evening
this
that
is public
Grandpa
domain
didn't need
video.
the little blue
That's on
pill.
you.
Wow. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I know. Mm-mm.
Well, to Paige's credit, at least she was already famous before that tape. She wasn't a Paris
True.
Hilton. She wasn't a Paris Hilton or a Kim Kardashian.
True.
Listen, Kat, I don't want to hear your opinions.
she just she walked down the hall like, fine, I'm going home.
Oh, I'm so glad this is on
The
my
diva
personal
and the
channel.
doom.
But what I'm thinking is the way that our video feeds set up. I'm wondering if the like if it's whether it's me or me and Amanda or me, you and Amanda, if it would look good in this setup and have the chaos and conversation name either on the top of the TV or the under the TV as a new setup.
I think it would look pretty good.
You think so?
Yeah,
I
but
might try that. If Amanda's, I don't think Amanda's in here because she hasn't answered us.
yeah, I know it.
But I'm curious what she would think.
All right. Are we gonna video chat later? Cause I gotta go take Tony to work.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we'll just end this. We're gonna
It's been
end
fun.
it, man.
It's been fun.
But yeah, we'll end it here. We will video chat when you get back.
All right, it'll be about 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, and maybe we'll pick up this conversation in a couple of nights, in a couple of
Okay,
evenings. All right,
sounds good to me.
all right.